In this video, I am going to talk about how do I get my website to be connected to a database. Now, we all know how important it is to have your website connected to a database. This is where your customers, your users, are going to log in to their account. This is a place where they can actually make purchases. This is where your customers and the other users can actually have access to their information in your website. And this is how they can customize their website, their pages in your website, and a lot of long list of things that could be done whenever you have your website connected to a database. So as you know, we're using AWS here to host our website. So for us to be able to get our website to be connected to a database, we mainly need to go through 3 steps. Step number 1, we need to create a database. Step number 2, we need to have a client side for that database that we can use to create tables in that database. And then after that, we're going to have to go to our website using PHP to have access to the database. And once you have access to the database, we will learn later about how do we retrieve information, how do we add information to those tables and those databases. So to do that, let's start with the first step. Step number 1, we need to create a database. To do that, in your account at the AWS, you're going to have to go to databases here, and you choose RDS, Rational Database Service. At least that's what I think the RDS is shortcut for. Now, once you click on that, you can go ahead and click on the dashboard. And in my case here, I already have a database. I call the CIST272. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a new one. To do that, you have to click on the Create a Database. And once you get to this page, standard create database. Now you see here we have a lot of options. We are going to use MySQL. And we are going to choose the free tier. Now remember here, AWS provides you with a lot of free tier services, and we are going to go with the free tier for the database here. And in the settings, now this is the part where I really want you to pay attention. You should have a text file next to you. Let's call it database data. In this text file, I am going to store all the details that I have for this database that I'm creating. So first thing first, I'm going to change the database to be equal, let's say, KCKCC CIST. So this is what we call the database instance identifier. So I need those information later. So you don't get confused, let's go ahead and do that. Put everything in this text file. So if I need them later, I'll have access to them. And you know what? Let me just change them all to lower cases, KCKCC and CIST with uppercase C. So let me copy that. And here we go. Now the admin, what are we going to be the master username? I'm going to call it admin CIST. And let's go ahead with lowercase CIST. And let's put 0272. So here's my username. Now, again, remember, this is the master username. Now, after that, we're going to have to create a password. In this password, I'm just going to go with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You know what? I'm not supposed to say that. So I'm going to create my own password. And I'm going to repeat it here. Now, what I want you to do, I want you to go to your file and type your password here. Okay, once you're done with that part, you don't have to change anything about this class. Keep it the base class here. This is basically because it's free. You will only have this option. If you want to pay money, you can go ahead and choose something else. We don't want to do anything of that. We'll just keep everything normal with no change to anything. The availability zone, we'll keep it as it is. Enable storage out scaling. Okay. Connectivity. You don't have to change anything. Oh, this is the part where we really need to change. You need to make this public access. If you don't put it as public access, you would not have access to it. So I'm just going to go ahead and choose yes. Choose an existed what is this? VPC, virtual private connection security group. I'll just go with the default here. Let's see here. Do I have options? Well, yeah, I do have a lot of groups, but I'll just keep it as the default one. Um, I'm not going to create a new one. Password authentication. Just keep everything normal. Keep everything normal. I think there's one more option that I need to change. It should be additional options. Database, here it is, additional configuration. If you want to give initial database name, you can come here and do that. Let's do that here, additional database name. I'm just going to call it my name, for example, Ahmed. Enable automatic backup. Okay, 7 days, not preference. Enable enhanced monitoring. No, you don't have to change any of that. Just keep everything. Enable deletion protection. No. Okay, now I'm done. You can create the database. Just remember here, let me type Ahmed. And this is my file. Let me save it. I'll keep everything here. Create the database. Now, you're just going to have to wait for a few seconds. Are you want to save? Never. I don't want to save anything. And this is my database. Now, if you click on the database, it's in the phase of creating, which is going to take some time, and then it's going to go into the phase of backing up. And once it's created, you should be having the status just like this one that I created, which is available. So what we're going to do, we're going to have to wait for this to become available. And once it's available, we're going to have another look at the screen. It's still in the phase of creating, of course. Let me talk about what will be the next step here. The next step is basically to have, since I'm using MySQL, I need to have a client side of my MySQL. So if I come here in MySQL Punchmark, this is the software I'm supposed to download. I'm going to download this Punchmark. Of course, now he's going to ask me to have an account with let's go ahead and download the whole thing. I need to have an account with Oracle. So let me log in. Now this is going to be a tough one. I don't know if I remember this. Please, please, pretty please. Nope, that didn't work. And here we go, that worked. So let me save it. So now I can download, which is again is going to take around 2 minutes. Okay, that's not bad. This one is still creating, so we're just going to have to wait a little bit here. Once this one is created and backed up, you will see a lot of update in this window here. And there will be one specific link we're going to be looking for. It's called the endpoint. And the endpoint will give you access to the database using the software that I'm downloading right now. So I'm just going to wait for this to download, which is not supposed to take that long. It's like, here we go, 50 seconds. And then after that, I'll see where are we in this phase. Now, just to give you an idea, MySQL Punchmark is basically, it's a software, the software that uses MySQL community. It's a graphical user interface software, just like Microsoft Excel and stuff like that. Your job is basically to connect that software to a database that does exist, and that's the point of us trying to create one here. And once your MySQL community is connected to that database, you can start creating tables, configuring tables, and all these kind of details. So we're going to create multiple tables, and then we'll try to have access to them using a simple PHP file from the AWS server that we have already. So now let me start the process of installation. And this should take a few seconds. Yes, go ahead. Still creating. This should take a few minutes. Okay, so here it is. What do you want? I will say to download a full everything. So next, all of this is going to be downloaded. Okay, so now our database is available. The endpoint, here is the link for the endpoint, which we're going to need later. You need to understand that there's a port number that we're going to use as well, 3306. Let's go ahead and continue with the installation of the MySQL. Now, after the installation complete, now it's time to configure. We're just going to go with the default cases. Next, we'll go with the password protection encryption. Next. Now, this is going to be a local server, so you can use your computer as a database server. So he's asking you to create a password for it with a root username. But again, we're just going to do that for now. But traditionally, we're not using it to be connected to a local server. We're trying to get connected to the AWS. So in this part, you can put any password you want. That's what I'm doing right now. He doesn't like it. He said it's very weak. Okay. This is the Windows server name. I'll just keep everything as default. Next. And then execute. Okay, so it looks like everything is ready to go. Next. Boot start MySQL after using. I'll just go finish now. I don't want to put any host name and username or route, so just keep it like it is. Now he's asking you to enter that password that I just generated. Okay, why check? Now he checked the connectivity. Next, execute. And finish. Let's go next. Copy log. No, I don't want to do anything with that. Just go ahead. Give it time. And now we have MySQL Punchwork in my system. And here it is. Everything looks okay so far. Now, the next thing here is that we're going to have to try to get connecting with this MySQL Punchwork to the database that I have here. So now we have the MySQL database created, and it's available, as you can see here. And I have the endpoint available. I have the port available. My server at AWS is available as well. And here it is. And then this is my terminal. And also I have installed MySQL Workbench. Now, before I continue, if you are not using AWS, for example, if you want to use your own computer system as a web server, you can install Apache in your software in your system, and then one of the options, you can enable PHP and you can enable MySQL. I'm going to provide a video for you guys. If you are one of those who are not using Amazon, you can look at that video so you will know how can you use your own system for MySQL. So first of all, let's look at MySQL here. This is my local host. If I click here, it's going to ask me for the password that I created. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And if I click OK, you'll see here it is. This is my database. Now, this is not what I'm looking for. I want to get this, instead of connecting to my local device, I want it to be connected to my AWS RDS. So before we get to that point, here's what we need to understand, and here's what we need to do. First thing first, we need to make sure that your server here is connected to your database. Now, how do I do that? Well, there are multiple steps that we can check to make sure that we can establish that kind of connection. When you click on your database here and you go to the connectivity and security, you need to have the VPC security group available for you. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you how do I get to this part. If you don't have it, well, in the previous section in this video, I chose default, and it turns out that default may not work for you. So here's what you need to do. You need to click on modify. And while it's loading, we need to look at the security group that we have for this instance, which is the Linux server that we have. So now we have database, we have a Linux server. So if you click on security, it's going to show you that this is the security group that you have. What I'm going to be looking for is this Launch Wizard 6. So let me go back here and go all the way to the bottom. Keep looking into those. And here it is. See, if you're seeing default, you can click on X to take the default away, and you click on this arrow, and you should find the Lunch Wizard 6 available here, and you can choose that as an option. So that's the first thing to do. Now, after you chose that VPN group, well, what were you complaining about? Confirm. Well, he said you didn't change anything. Cancel. Okay, we're changing. Now, let me just click on this again. Now, here's what I need to do. I need to click on this. It's going to take me to this window. And you can look here and see inbound rules, sorry. In the inbound rules, you will have a list of ports that you can use. Now, if you don't see this MySQL Aurora available, then you're going to have to add it. Now, if you're asking how do I add it if it's not here in this list, you click on Action, Edit Inbound, and you can see it here. I added it here. So what are you going to do if you don't see it again? You click on Add Rule, and then when you click on the Add Rule, you will have this arrow. You click on it, it's going to show you a long list of type of ports you can choose from. You can have to choose this one. This one is going to be associated by default with the port number 3306, and then you're going to have to custom and choose any IPv4. And when you choose any IPv4, you will see this this IP address here, which is 0.0.0. It's not an IP address, actually. It has another name. It's a mask something. I don't remember the right term for now. Anyway, you're going to have to get this as part of this port, so you can save the rules. We didn't change anything. Now that you're done with that part, we need to go back to your EC2, your server, and then you click here. Make sure you go to security, and you will be able to see here 3306 TCP Wizard 6. So this part, it must be available for you. Now, before we go to our WorkBench, we need to make sure that the server has a connection to, the database, the server, yes, has a connection to the database. To do so, you go to your server. Oh, let me refresh it. And then you're going to have to write this command. In this command, what are you going to do? You're going to actually type sudo. You don't have to, but I'm just going to go and do that. And I will type MySQL -h. And then the name, this is called the DNS for that server, for that database. You come here, Control V, you put it here, and then you put -u. This is for the username. And you go and click on the username, which is in this case, admin_cist27. This is the one that I chose. Of course, yours is going to be a little bit different. And then -p for the password, and you press, oh, he didn't like it. What did I miss here? Oh, the sudo. He didn't like the sudo. Did I miss the sudo? Yep, I did. Now, you don't really need to have a sudo here. Just, it's not going to complain if you don't put it. So, and here it is. This is the password. I'm going to write the password that I created for the database. And here we go. I do have a connection to the database, and you can see here, it's MySQL showing here. Now, this is not what I'm looking for, by the way. I can, what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be using the software, MySQL WorkBench, to get everything done, because this is a graphically presented for databases. You can see the tables. It's a little bit easier to handle comparing this to here and get everything done with a command. Using the WorkBench is going to make the job a little bit easier, but to be honest, you can get the job done either way, this way or that way. So let's just go ahead. Since we're doing good here, let's just quit and go back to our server. You can see it's telling me bye. So this will tell me that I got everything done correctly. Now, if you enter the password and press enter and it takes a long time, you should know for sure that you did something wrong. It could be anything related to that port, the rule in the inboard rule that it might not be there. You have to make sure it's there. It could be that your IP address or your database is not public. Many reasons that could lead to this not to work. Now, since I have the connection established between the server and the database, let's go ahead and give it a try to the MySQL. In this area here, you click on this plus to create a new connectivity. And in this area here, you just name it whatever you want. I'm calling it KCKCC. Now, for the host name, we're going to have to type this whole thing here. You don't have to change anything. And for the root, you're going to have to use for the username, gonna have to use that. And then if you click on test connection, oh, you're gonna see this. It's gonna ask me for the same password. And I will say okay. And it says successful made a connection. And then I will just say, well, let's store the IP address here so I don't have to enter it every time I want to use it. Click OK, and now I have this connection to my database. Double click on it, wait for a few seconds, and voila, here we go. This is me accessing my database, which is basically hosted by Amazon from a computer here in Kansas City. Okay, now whatever change is going to be applied here, which we're going to be talking about later in an incoming video, you will be able to see it reflected on that database. So if you go back to your database here, whatever change, again, that we're going to be applying, is this the instance? No, this is the database. Whatever change, whatever modification we're going to be applying here, you will always be able to see it here. Let me just see, how do I, again, am I at the ECT? So both of them are ECT. Let me go to the database. Come on, internet is really, really bad today. And here we go. So this is my database. Let's go to databases. This is the one that I have. Click on it. I should be able, I'm going to talk about this in the next video, but I should be able to see all the tables and everything. Query editor, this created database. Well, I already have one. So let's go back to dashboard. Here it is. Modify action, group resources, restore in the S3. No, that we don't want to restore it. Let's just click here. And that's it. So I'm going to stop at this point, and I'm going to upload another video later to talk about how do we use WorkBench to create a simple database. Again, I'm just going to create those databases, try to show you some query statements or instructions, and we'll play with database a little bit. So we're going to put PHP on the side right now, and we're just going to focus on how do we get this part done. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys later.